right, welcome back on this Wednesday morning from WHKY, 1290 AM, 102.3 FM.
So they say.
Let's welcome back one of our favorites this morning. Here's Jim Paff here from Virginia this morning with the Conservative Caucus. Jim, good morning. How are you, sir?
Well, I'm doing well, except I want to express my deep jealousy that you're going to have a Whataburger there, and I'm very, very concerned that I'm going to miss that.
You know, let me take a second here, Jim, too. We're going to be there tomorrow, too, with 2411 North Center Street here in Hickory, too. Got a ribbon cutting ceremony. They're going to open this thing and christen it there. I'm not sure what they do for the christening. I guess they just cut the ribbon there between 8:30 and 9. And then we'll be giving out honey butter chicken biscuits to the first 100 folks and a Whataburger swag bag. And then we'll do the show there from 9 until noon tomorrow at the Whataburger. So a lot of people are going to come by and say hello. And it was a real challenge to try to get Chuck to go to some place that does hamburgers. I'm there. I'm in. Let's go. Whataburger, the best.
I lived in Arizona for a few years, and Whataburger is my favorite burger. And I grew up in the fast food industry. My dad had about 103 Burger Chef and then Hardee's restaurants later on. And in fact, my uncle worked at Hardee's headquarters over in Rocky Mount, and so it's in my blood. Maybe too much in my blood because I've eaten too much.
Well, you can imagine that's quite a battle that goes on in that the fast food war and stuff these days. So these folks are really coming in and doing well, and we're looking forward to having them here, and it'll be a great success. We want to say good morning to our friend here, Jim Paff here. He's president of the Conservative Caucus. They're based out of Fairfax, Virginia. Jim usually calls and just gives us some good things. Let's talk about this today. Trump is actually going to go over and sit in the Supreme Court, first sitting president to ever do this, and the birthright citizenship battle with this case. Is it Trump versus Barbara? Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. That's correct.
Okay. So we'll see if this is the first oral arguments of this today. This is something he put into effect, I guess, under an executive order when he first came into office, and they're saying,
Well, and the reality is that the language in the 14th Amendment could not be clearer unless you're a lawyer and you have an agenda. So, as with so many things in the law. So there's a conjoined. There are two clauses conjoined by an and conjunction. Okay, I'm being a little English major there. You have the aspect that anyone not born in the country or born in the country can be here, but it can be a citizen. This was to address the slave issue, but it said and are not subject to the jurisdiction thereof, meaning not subject to American jurisdiction. And this is where this argument comes in. What does it mean to be subject to the jurisdiction? Well, there was a lot of discussion at the time about it, to make it very clear that the children of ambassadors that were born here, they couldn't become citizens, and many other arguments that were made. But the entire purpose of this amendment, of this portion of the 14th Amendment, was to make sure that slaves would not be subject to a previous Supreme Court ruling, Dred Scott, which said that they weren't even have any right to be considered human beings. I mean, it was that's one of the worst Supreme Court decisions we've ever had. So this was to fix that problem as the slaves were being freed. There was no thought about expanding it beyond that, and there was an 1878 decision that made that very case, or that said that very thing. You know, you can't give this birthright to other people. So this is a key critical issue, particularly when we find out that there has been a birthright citizenship industry out of China where you've got tens of thousands, it might be hundreds of thousands of women that were sent to the United States to have babies that are being raised in China that have citizenship. It's crazy, and it needs to be overturned. So I'm glad Donald Trump is there.
And so is this a big deal that he's going to go over and sit in on this today?
Well, it is a big deal to a lot of people. For me, I'm glad that he's doing it, and I'll tell you why. He's breaking the kinds of precedents in Washington, D.C. that have constrained Washington into the sewage that it lives in without thinking clearly about what it does. So when you come in and you make this massive of a showing of your presence, I think that I don't know that a president should do it all the time, and frankly, they don't have time to do it all the time. But there is actually a chair inside the Supreme Court that has been there nearly since its founding to allow for the president to sit there. So it's not like this was never envisioned. It's incredibly rare. But I'm glad that he's doing it. I think it's a good thing. It's making Democrats go crazy and the media go crazy. But this and the Save America Act, and I think more so the Save America Act, these are existential to our country. And it's good that he's going there because the people who elected him concerned about the immigration problem, which is most Americans, they're going to be glad that he's standing up for it.
Amen. Amen. To say that TDS is alive and real in America, too, a judge has now halted the construction of the ballroom at the White House, too, said that it was not within his authority to do it without permission from Congress. I heard him this morning on a clip the president said that there have been many additions and construction things at the White House that have never been okayed by Congress and stuff. But now suddenly, well, it's a Trump idea. We got to get that okay, I guess, and everything. Another thing's I think you just leave it like it is. Leave it a mess like that for the next ones to clean up. We can do that. He won't do that.
Well, what's interesting is the ruling said there's no law that I can find, the judge said, that authorizes him to do it. But he can't find any law that is restriction because none exists. The issue here is appropriation, the appropriation of funds. The issue isn't the building of a building. And the key factor of this, as you rightly started to point out, TDS is alive and well. This is about we want no monuments to Donald Trump anywhere, right?
Right.
But we've got monuments to almost every president everywhere in this country. So what's the problem with that? It's because they hate Donald Trump so much. He's breaking what have become the rules. This is kind of similar if you really think about it, although I hesitate to make the comparison, but I think it's a good one. This is kind of like Jesus telling the Pharisees that you have created all these rules that I, God in the flesh, that I never created when it came to the law and the ceremonial law. And this again, I hesitate to make that comparison, but it's a good one because you get these systems that become governmental style systems that people will build up that leave entirely the heart of what was intended from the law that was issued. And in the Constitution that we have, we hardly follow the Constitution anymore. We've got an administrative state that's far beyond what its powers were given. We've got a Congress that authorizes things it never should have authorized. And so guys like Donald Trump are disruptors that come in and rightly point these things out and show their absurdity. And it's going to be on display today on this particular issue. And,
a while back,
and with him building this building.
And a while back, Joe stepped out of the race, and suddenly we just deemed Kamala the successor and stuff. I don't remember a primary. Wait a minute. What about the rules? There's nothing to see here. Nothing to see here at all. We're going to take a break and come back. This is Jim Path here, president of the Conservative Caucus out of Fairfax, Virginia. If you like what you're hearing from Jim, you can follow him at the Conservative Caucus, theconservativecaucus.com here. All right, we'll come back. And Jim's, he's varied and he's widely educated and stuff like that. We'll get his thoughts on the Final Four in the next segment. Stay with us. There's more coming up. Whether he wants to or not, that's what we're going to do. And we'll talk about some other political stuff, too. All right, stay with us. More coming up from WHKY. All right, welcome back, everybody, on this Wednesday morning from WHKY, 1290 AM, 102.3 FM. Like 82, 83 this afternoon. Oh, my gosh, really? That warm? What is this? Well, it's April 1st. All right, we're sitting on 72 degrees. It's WHKY, 1290 AM, 102.3 FM, streaming at WHKY.com. Our weather's brought to us by the great folks at RoofMax of Hickory. Replenishing those essential oils in shingles extends their life by about 5 years for treatment, saves you on a cost for a replacement. This might work for you, too. About 9 out of 10 of the roofs out there being replaced today could have their life extended significantly with RoofMax. Call these gentlemen, 828-212-4838 or MakeMyRoofLast.com for more information. We welcome back Jim Path here from the Conservative Caucus out of Virginia this morning. Jim, before we get back into some of the talk, are you a basketball fan at all, or could you pretend for the next 30 seconds that you are?
No, I most certainly am. I mean, I tell people I'm from Indianapolis. We run a little race there you might have heard of. We are basketball capital. So
yeah, that's right. All right. Well, who do you like this weekend going into the Final Four? Who we going to have? Who we going to have for the Final Two on Monday?
It's a good question. And after that three-pointer that UConn hit to beat Duke, when Duke wouldn't just hold on to the ball, I'm not even sure what to predict anymore.
I agree. And especially, that kid.
I have a very dear. I have a very dear friend who is a Duke fan and a Duke graduate. Who was really wailing over that, and I'm just like, gosh, all you got to do is hold the stinking ball and let it foul you, even if you got to go to the foul line. I just couldn't believe it. Sorry, I didn't.
That was a Boozer. That's one of the Boozer boys. That's one of Carlos's boys on there. I called the family the other night. These are two of my favorite cousins and stuff like that. Never spoken to them, and I visited with them the night. We're thinking about kicking him out of the family for such a bad play. It was that bad. I don't know, but we're just there's talk. I'm teasing. I wish those boys were. Those are pretty good basketball players too. I agree. That was crazy. I almost came off the couch, Jim, tell you the truth here. All right, let's talk about this. A federal judge has now told Trump that he cannot defund NPR, PBS. Oh, really? Will this matter since Congress has already defunded them?
Well, no, because the Congress has defunded them.
Okay.
Listen, these courts are outrageous. Like, they're really. There is a real belief, and I think we've got a serious problem coming in the future. There is a real belief in this country, and then evidenced by the No Kings rallies and what they call it, and the amount of money they're putting about it, $3 billion, by the way, between in this movement. They are seriously of the belief that Donald Trump is a king, that he is Hitler. They still believe this. And there's a group of people that are doing everything they can to turn over anything that might have Donald Trump's name on it.
Amen.
Not
Amen.
only because of TDS, but also because they are fighting vigorously to undermine, actually to overthrow the American Republic. I mean, this ruling, in my opinion, falls in the category of insurrectionist. It's so absurd because Congress already had their say on this. Like, on one side, Donald Trump can't build a building that he's going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars of his own money on,
right?
Because Congress didn't authorize it. And then on the other side, when Congress deauthorizes spending, then the court says you got to do it. And what that reveals very clearly that we have to understand is that the deep state is a real concept. It's not really controlled by one person or anything, but it's just this idea that what America is about is not good, and we want power, and we want to take power away from you. And there's also just the abuse of power to advance one's agenda. I mean, we've seen this in our court system for decades now. That's where Democrats move their policy, because they never win at the polls on the policies that they promote.
You know, Jim, you'll see people, and I went through the airport, went to visit my dad last week, so I flew from Charlotte to Las Vegas and then back Saturday to Saturday, 21st and the 28th and stuff. Didn't have a problem with the TSAs and stuff like this. But, you know, these people that are being used as pawns in the TSA by the Democrats, and I think the public sees this. I think the American voting public sees exactly what's going on here. Then we bring in ICE to try to solve, they're going to be shooting. I mean, they're saying that they're going to be pulling people out of line and shooting them at the TSAs at the airport, for God's sakes. I mean, what are y'all smoking? And introduce me to your guy, for heaven's sake. This stuff it's just crazy. Everything and anything is against him and stuff here. And I don't think it's flying. I don't think the American public is fooled at all.
No, and this is still playing out, so we don't know the degree to which the American citizens are going to react to it, but they are going to react to it, and I believe very negatively. I mean, keep in mind, you've got all these ICE agents that were in the airports handing out water to people. How threatening does that feel? So after you've experienced these very kind and courteous ICE agents handing you water, talking to you maybe a little bit, or you're seeing them talk to someone else, and then you hear Chuck Schumer saying that they're going to pull you off to the side and kill you, how are you going to react to that? The lie becomes evident suddenly. But, during that debate of them going into the airports, it was very interesting, too, that Democrats were saying they're going to cause the kind of chaos that they caused in Minneapolis.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I think the American people get the lie that argument is too, because they didn't cause any problem in Minneapolis. It was a bunch of violent protesters that were obstructing them from doing anything. The worst you would have had from Minneapolis if you did not have this paid-for violent leftist protest.
Amen.
Is that you would have seen maybe a news story of someone in handcuffs getting taken away, and then it would have been done. So this is entirely a Democrat problem. It is not a Trump problem. In fact, he's doing what he's duty-bound to do by the law with ICE.
And real quick, we've got about 3 minutes left here. He's going to speak to the nation tonight, and we're going to talk about this conflict and stuff. The stock market went up 1,100 points yesterday, an indicator that there may be an end to this war. You know, Jim, I think people forget to. This boy is a military guy, went to military school, reminds me of my father, in that he is a fan of the strategies of war. Not a fan of war, but a fan of the strategies of war and what you do to do that and to counteract and all this kind of things. I think he understands the collateral damage of war and what it can do and stuff. I think we're the farthest from war, and I think this is a preventative attack on a country that has been saying death to us for the years. I think this is needed tonight to speak to us, to tell us what the heck's going on. Do you agree?
I do agree he needs to make a very clear statement in an address like this, and that is going to be helpful if the information's good. And, of course, he made the claim today that Iran is offering some sort of a ceasefire. I don't know if that's true or not. It would be good to have good news, but, yes, he does need to speak to the American people, say what's going on, be very clear about it, and he's also setting this up properly, by the way, telling Europe, okay, we've done our thing, now go get your own dang oil. And I liked that because we've got a Europe that is crazy right now, too. I mean, they're censoring people. They're throwing people in jail for opinions. You know, Donald Trump is a positive thing on the world stage, and we should be very thankful that he's come at this time.
Jim, we think you're a positive thing. We love having you on this show every day, too. If you want to follow some of this gentleman's thoughts and stuff, and we love Jim. He really flows with us and stuff. Chuck is not the sharpest knife in the drawer, and Jim doesn't bring any attention to that. He just keeps on here and just brings us great information. TheConservativeCaucus.com is the way to follow it here. I hope you have a great, relaxing Easter weekend here. We're going to take the day off. We'll do the best of coming up on Friday. Hope you get a chance to enjoy this with you and your family, Jim.
I do, too, and who knows, maybe I'll get a ticket and head down to the Whataburger opening tomorrow.
Come on down, brother. I got your lunch if you do. You know that.
All right. You take care. Have a great Easter, and happy Easter to everyone.
Thank you, Jim. Good to talk to you. Once again, Jim Paff here, president of the Conservative Caucus here. They're out of Fairfax, Virginia. And Jim, really, we love to call him one of our regulars here. He just does a great job with us. We appreciate him so much. And he is a beacon of hope. He talks in a real positive way about these things and stuff. And I think if you rely on the mainstream media and you do just your kind of Facebook and stuff, I think the lean is kind of like, well, you know, we're losing people. Well, really? Okay, yeah. I think my personal opinion here, Chucky Boozer, I think if we didn't deal with this now, we were going to have to deal with this down the road eventually. And if they became nuclear weaponized, and I say that to people and they go, Chuck, ha, ha. Really? Seriously? Okay. I'm sorry.